Good evening, and welcome to this edition of HT News, a newscast produced by communication majors at Huston-Tillotson University. Our top story tonight, the nation's attention turns towards Austin and the LBJ Presidential Library, which this month marks the 50th anniversary of the Civil Rights Act. As Marcus Harvey reports, the Civil Rights Summit features famous musicians, political organizers, 3 former presidents, and most notably, President Barack Obama.
President Obama arrived in Austin on April 10th with a throng of security protecting his every move. From the streets below to the rooftops above, no one without an invitation got anywhere near the presidential library. Barricades kept onlookers and even the media far away. Inside, the lucky few who got a ticket had front row seats for a momentous occasion, rung in by a musical icon.
We shall overcome. We shall overcome someday. Oh, Lord.
Arriving on stage more than a half an hour later than expected, Mr. Obama recognized the legacy of Lyndon Johnson, who used the power of his presidency to transform race relations in America.
He understood laws couldn't accomplish everything. But he also knew that only the law could anchor change and set hearts and minds on a different course. And a lot of Americans needed the law's most basic protections at that time. As Dr. King said at the time, it may be true that the law can't make a man love me, but it can keep him from lynching me. And I think that's pretty important. Because of the civil rights movement, because of the laws President Johnson signed, new doors of opportunity and education swung open for everybody. Not all at once, but they swung open. Not just blacks and whites, but also women and Latinos and Asians and Native Americans and gay Americans and Americans with a disability. They swung open for you and they swung open for me. And that's why I'm standing here today, because of those efforts, because of that legacy.
President Obama's visit was not without controversy. Taking his message of change to heart, dozens of protesters marched outside the summit to speak against the president's policies on immigration and, more specifically, deportation.
We shall overcome. We shall overcome someday.
Marcus Harvey, HT News.
As the oldest degree-granting institution for African Americans in Texas, the anniversary of the Civil Rights Act means something special to the faculty, staff, and students at Huston-Tillotson University. So they gathered together to observe the occasion. In advance of President Obama's speech, several faculty members organized a panel to discuss the history and the politics of the act. Audience members shared stories from their childhood and experiences from the present, proving the important role that race still plays.
And I can still remember, and I get emotional about it, remembering during the time that the Civil Rights Bill was being passed, we tried to stay in a Howard Johnson motel. I believe it was in Arizona. And my father was thinking, okay, the legislation is passed, we'll go ahead and try to stay in this hotel. And I was in 3rd grade, and the woman came out to the car and she said, we don't allow, and she used the N-word, we don't allow ins in this hotel. And I can still remember, it was so vivid and it stuck so in my mind that I can still visualize and remember how I felt to this day. It was just horrible.
Presenters and audience members also discussed their modern political movements, including the challenges facing young organizers. As Mavis Staples took stage, the HT audience stood tall and sang along, then settled in to hear the president speak. When big events like these come into town, Austinites feel it, especially on the city's overcrowded streets. No doubt, Austin is suffering from growing pains. As Sharnia Rowlett reports, that's especially true in East Austin when it comes to parking.
Inside Hub Tattoo, owner Michael Norris concentrates on his current work of art. He's been working on completing this green skeleton for hours. His shop has been open for 3 years, and he has seen the development and growth on this block of East 11th Street, but not without its growing pains.
Turning some of these side streets into one-ways and giving us angled parking would make a big difference.
His customers come in for body art, but worry if their cars are safe from parking tickets and towing.
Other streets like 5th and 6th are developing at a much faster rate, but that hasn't stopped traffic from spilling into other developing residential areas.
Residents near East 11th Street are looking for solutions to their growing parking and traffic complaints. Hundreds of patrons stand in line to get a taste of Austin's top barbecue eatery, leaving the resident streets painted with parked cars. Currently, there are no meters and very few parking regulations. Grande is the assistant director of the Austin Transportation Department. He says the city wants to minimize the impact that traffic and development has on the folks in the neighborhood.
The street is first for the people that live in the area, and we look at programs to make sure that happens.
Programs like the Residential Permit Parking Program. The initiative is designed to give residents a better chance of finding an on-street parking space in their own neighborhood. Sharnia Rowlett, HT News.
Driving downtown just got a lot more complicated for some of its commuters. Red River is now closed in both directions between Martin Luther King Boulevard and 15th Street. That's because they're starting construction at the new Dell Medical School at the University of Texas. MLK and 15th Street will stay open, but you can expect rerouting of traffic and plenty of delays, especially around rush hour. Red River will stay closed until January 2015. Amid concerns about traffic and safety, Austin City Council is moving forward with plans to conduct a full review of the South by Southwest Festival. Leaders are particularly concerned given the fatal accident that killed 4 people and injured dozens more at this year's event. They will explore methods of improving crowd control, traffic management, and urban sprawl for the popular event. It's been a busy year at Austin-Bergstrom, and South by Southwest has a lot to do with it. Airport officials say that this was the busiest March on record. They don't keep track of how many people fly in, but they do keep track of how many people fly out. This year, more than 213,000 people departed from ABIA during the festival. That's a 7% increase over last year. The only busier time at the airport is during Formula One. The leader of Austin Public Schools is on her way out. Today, the city of Atlanta announced it's hiring Dr. Maria Karstarfin. Karstarfin has been superintendent of AISD schools for 5 years now. Although sometimes controversial, under Karstarfin, high school graduation rates went up nearly 8%. She also supported programs that focused on raising literacy rates and helped change the disciplinary procedures worked against African Americans and special ed students. After 8 years serving the city, one of Austin's major political players is nearing the end of her term. Cheryl Cole has served on Austin City Council since 2006 and is currently mayor pro tem. As Charles Wright tells us in this Faces of Austin reports, this prominent leader sees a bright future for the city she loves.
What that would look like if that happened. Well,
Cheryl Cole spent the last several years doing the people's business as Austin's Place 6 council member. The city council chamber is a far cry from Wichita Falls, Texas, the birthplace she left more than 2 decades ago. She loves her adopted hometown and thinks highly of the citizens she serves.
I think Austin has the right type of people for me that are, a lot of them are young, energetic, vibrant, very intelligent, committed to the city.
The coming city elections will bring many changes to the way Austin is governed. The city council will grow from 6 members to 10 members, one of which will not be Councilmember Cole. With the time in office coming to an end, Cheryl Cole says she's working harder than ever for the people of Austin. Known for a strong commitment to public service, many believe this will not be her last job here at City Hall. Term limits will prevent Cole from returning to office next year. With time running out, she and her staff are working on resolutions concerning pay equality and affordable housing. She's committed to uniting the city and making Austin more livable for all its citizens.
We are quickly becoming 2 Austins, a very prosperous Austin and an Austin that is very challenged. And it's important to me that we do all we can to bridge that gap.
Cole is proud of what she has accomplished and is looking for new ways to continue serving her city. She is seriously considering a mayoral run next cycle, but says she will not make a final decision for some time. Charles Wright, HT News.
After years at the helm, HT President Larry Irvin says it's time for a change. Details on his plans to retire when we come back. Also ahead, HT students dig into their closets for a good cause. Stay with us. Welcome back to HT News. In big news from campus, our university is on the lookout for a new leader. After serving 14 years at HT, the university's president, Dr. Larry Irvin, has announced he plans to retire next summer. During his tenure as president, Dr. Irvin supervised the institution's transition from a college to a university. Student enrollment doubled, and the school's endowment more than doubled as well. The university plans to conduct a nationwide search for his replacement. In what may be a positive indicator for Austin's booming job market, nearly 60 employers came knocking at HT's Spring Career Fair. That's the second largest turnout in a decade. Plenty of students also showed up to take advantage of the opportunity. According to the Career and Graduate Development Center, more than 100 students signed in, a few shy of last year's numbers. Attendees shook hands, held meetings, and swapped resumes with potential employers, ranging from KITV, the Federal Reserve Bank of Dallas, to several school districts. Huston-Tillotson will soon launch its first graduate degree program. This spring, the Board of Trustees overwhelmingly approved a master's in education. The degree will enable graduates to get certified as a school principal. The program is slated to begin January 2015. The Board of Trustees also approved two other programs, a master's in business administration and a bachelor's in environmental science. Although the LBJ Civil Rights Summit got most of the attention, earlier this month, HT held its own summit on race in America, only a little smaller. The 8th annual Lewis Gregory Symposium on Race Unity took place on campus April 3rd. The event's keynote speaker was Joyce James, former head of Child Protective Services for the state of Texas. There was also a presentation on the works of Lewis Gregory, and scholarships were awarded to HT students in his name. A great experience for HT's music program. That's what student and faculty are calling a concert held recently on campus. Called Pathways of Love, the performance showcased the music of Romeo Cascarino. Cascarino was a world-renowned composer known for his musical skill and versatility. The composer's wife took part in the event, introducing and discussing her husband's work. She and several HT students also performed, as did HT Professor Javier Stupard, Stephen Berneman, and Dr. Gloria Quinlan, directing the HT Choir. From the sounds of music to the sweet smell of success. When we come back, HT's Mike Gray talks about the Lady Rams' record-breaking basketball season. Also ahead, HT students spring into wellness. We'll be right back. In health news today, the deadline has come and gone for Americans wanting to sign up through the Affordable Care Act. Earlier this month, the federal government stopped allowing all applicants through its system. Local organizations and churches played a big role in helping folks here in Central Texas get signed up in time. Here in East Austin, David Chapel Baptist Church hosted weekly information sessions where community members could get help from a group called Enroll America. Enroll America representatives say more people started signing up as the deadline got closer.
At first it was a little bit slow, but we built up the word and we got the word out through local radio, through the congregation here. The pastor is really good about sharing information with his congregants and members, and through word of mouth, so it's been pretty good.
The Obama administration says more than 7 million people registered through the federal website. If you miss the deadline, next year the federal government will charge you a penalty of either 1% of your income or $95, whichever is more. Health and wellness sprung into effect this semester on HT's campus. An interactive health fair took place on April 2nd. HT's Counseling and Consultation Center hoped to get students focused on healthy lifestyles and improving the overall well-being of the university community. Exhibitors represented various physical and mental health services in Austin participated, encouraging students to discover local resources. HT's Elite Combo was on hand to draw students in, attracting many participants to the event. Now, with a look at sports, we head over to our sports center and Mike Gray. Mike?
Thanks, Jamal. Topping sports tonight, halfway through the season, some good results for HT's track team. Both the men and the women recently competed at Rice University in the Victor Lopez Classic. HT ran extremely well. The men placed 6th and the women took 2nd overall. The highlight of the meet was a women's 4x100 meter relay. The team of Sarah Mackey, Janelle DeGreen, Ashley Robinson, and Shantae Gosby automatically qualified for the NAIA Outdoor Nationals and won their heat with a time of 47.93 seconds. The men's 4x100 meter relay team of Rodney Brown, O'Quaisma Richmond, Xavier Wilson, and Wayne Hargrove placed 1st overall. Sophomore Wayne Hargrove was also outstanding in the 200 meter dash, placing 2nd overall. It's been a banner year for HT's women's basketball program. The Lady Rams ended this year as Red River Conference champions, and for the first time in history, took on a trip to nationals. In the Red River Conference Championship, HT, seen here in gold, took on Oklahoma's Langston University. HT was up by more than 20 points in the beginning of the first half, but gave up their big lead in the second half. Langston came close, but in the end, the Lady Rams squeaked out a win, 67-64.
We all just came together. We still motivated each other. We knew we were going to have to push even harder. So I feel like our relationship got so much closer because we had to build each other up, make each other stronger.
The victory earned HT a spot in the national tournament. The Rams went on to play powerhouse Freed Hardman in the NAIA's first round, but lost 85-51. Still, a record-setting year for the Lady Rams. After a solid season, the Longhorns basketball program came to an untimely end. Although both the men and the women went to the NCAA tournament, they both left early. The women fell short to Maryland, 69-64 in the second round, and the men lost in the third round to Michigan, 79-65. Texas football practice got underway this spring with fewer players than expected. 2 days before spring practice began, Coach Charlie Strong booted third-year backup players Chet Moss and Leroy Scott. He dismissed the players for violating team rules, but wouldn't discuss exactly what they did wrong. Well, that's it for this edition of HT Sports. Back to you, Jamal.
Thanks, Mike. Finally tonight, a resounding success. That's what the Texas Advocacy Project is calling its first annual Handbags for Hope purse drive. And we are pleased to report Huston-Tillotson was a part of that success. HT was one of 4 locations around the city where women dropped off newly and gently used purses for the cause. Organizers are now sorting them out and will eventually put emergency contact information and pamphlets into them. The purses will be distributed as Mother's Day gifts to women in domestic violence shelters. HT collected more than 200 purses on campus, and event coordinators are thrilled with the haul.
At first I was kind of like, oh my gosh, it's not going as fast as I thought, and then all of a sudden I would just get bags and bags of purses, and people asking me, when's the last day? When can I bring them? I'll remember to put them in my car. So it's turned out pretty well. It's pretty fun.
The Texas Advocacy Project hoped to collect 200 purses this year. In the end, they collected more than 3,000. That's it for this edition of HT News. We appreciate you watching and look forward to seeing you here soon. From all the students in HT's communications program, good night.